Hi, everyone. For those of you that are new here, my name is Tomas. I'm your host with special guest Maddie Gardner, and you're listening to Cheer Analyst.
I'm so happy to be listening to Cheer Analyst.
So am I, actually. I also love listening to Cheer Analyst.
How are you?
I'm really good. Worlds was just 30 seconds ago, so I am decompressing from
Mhm.
the emotional roller coaster of a weekend.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when you just said worlds, I got a little teary-eyed already. I'm
Yeah.
a mess, but in a good way. Like, I'm happy to be a mess. And when I
Mhm.
say that, I mean, I'm just super in my feelings about this past weekend because it was so great.
How did your faves do? We should go over that. Do you know what I mean? If you have any personal interest in any of the world champions, or
Mhm.
if you know any, maybe like teams that you used to be on. Did you know
So
anyone
great.
that won?
Heck yeah, I did. Believe it or not, so I went to Worlds this past weekend. And it is the first time I've been back to Worlds since the last time I competed,
Mhm.
which was 2012. So it's been 11 years since I've been to Worlds. I've been to other competitions, I've been
Mhm.
to ESPN wide World of Sports, but not Worlds. So
Mhm.
it was wild, right?
For those of you that are new here, Maddie Gardner used to be on Cheer Extreme Senior Elite. And to you and I, and to people that are 190 years old like myself, we obviously know that, but there's people here that don't know you actually were on Senior Elite.
That is such a good
For,
point.
Mhm.
But can you actually tell me how long I was on the team because you probably know better than I
Yeah, I was already about to. So you were on Senior Elite. You technically started in at the end of 2007 season when you started
That's
to
right.
cross onto Senior Elite, and you
Yep.
went to Worlds with Senior Elite in 2007,
Yep.
and then you were on Senior Elite in 2008 when you were in eighth grade, and
Correct. Yep.
that's the year of the TikTok to Celine Dion.
The first year
That's
of
like
TikTok
yeah,
to
that's like
Celine
the
Dion.
real
To be
yeah,
fair.
like the like famous TikTok that changed cheerleading. Different podcast, different day. 2009. So we're at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11,
Mhm.
12.
Yep. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Thank you for that
You're
history
welcome.
lesson on myself.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I am so glad you keep the books for all of us in the
You're
cheer world.
welcome. It's my job.
Yes. So I was on Senior Elite. The last time Senior Elite won Worlds was 2013. So that's the year after I graduated. We won in 2010 for the first time. 2012, that was my last year. 2013 was the last time they'd won. So it had been 10 years since that team had won Worlds, a whole decade. And this weekend changed all of that. And to be there and see it was the coolest, most full circle, wonderful emotional experience. So it was a last minute decision. I think I booked my flight Thursday to leave Saturday. I had a really good feeling about this team this season. I saw them in person for the first time at Majors in Indianapolis, where they won grand champs. And when I watched that routine, I knew then, I was like, they're going to win Worlds this year. And sure enough, they had a great season. They won NCAA as well. Grand champs in NCAA? Did I make that up?
That is correct.
I was right. And then just being in Orlando with them the entire weekend. I didn't plan it that way. I planned to go and just watch really great cheerleading and observe. Um, but I landed on Saturday for my Frontier flight. They should sponsor me at this point. Um, and my mom texted me and said, Courtney is looking for you. Courtney, meaning Courtney Smith Pope, the owner of Cheer Extreme and Senior Elite
Yes,
Texas.
is looking for you.
Yeah. And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, she says she has to see you before 1:42, and it was 1:30 at this point, and I'm still at the airport looking for my bag, and I'm like, I don't think that's going to happen. Let me text her husband, Ben. And Ben says, "You're good. We just need you at senior elite practice tonight at 5." And I said, "Okay." So I met them over at practice, and the whole thing with that is Courtney is a very superstitious person. We all
Okay.
are because of her. The team is as well. And
Hmm.
for both majors and NCA,
Hmm.
she had seen me before day one of senior league competing,
Hmm.
and they had done well. So in all of our superstitious brains, she was thinking, I have to see Maddie before my teams compete day one. I did see them. But me going to practice was just perfect because then I essentially just stalked them for the rest of the weekend.
Are you a senior elite groupie?
I am now. I'm obsessed. Listen, I've been watching videos of the routine all day. I've been watching
Mhm.
videos of awards all day. I have been like making TikToks and reels about this team. Like I am officially a fan account. I'm okay with it.
Okay,
Um, they're amazing.
we're gonna
But
start here. It's day one.
Sunday,
Walk us through. Yep, it is Sunday. We are about to go head to the venue. It's time to check in.
seeing like the wide world of sports globe outside and then
Hmm.
the palm trees lining the walkway. Yes, so Friday practice wrapped up around 7, I'd say. And then the next morning I went to the venue early because Tomas, our cheer analyst, created a personalized schedule of the teams that we wanted to see and told me what hall they were going to be in and at what time because he's fabulous and he shared it with me. And so thank you. Got there in time to see the first team on our shared Excel document. And then rushed over to see Cheer Extreme Lady Lux. Um, and when I went out to meet the team, because I know some of the athletes on that team and obviously the coaches, Senior Elite was there to watch them. So Senior Elite was already there. They watched Lady Lux compete on Sunday in their finals. Went outside, saw the team, and it was like they were so calm that Sunday, first day
Hmm.
prelims. They were so calm. They just like had this air of confidence about them. Um,
Hmm.
I don't at that time I didn't know a ton of the girls. I didn't know a ton of the athletes on the team. I knew a few who had been there since I cheered there. um, so a long time ago when they looked a lot different than they do now when they were on like mini and youth teams.
Yeah.
So I recognize them, but that team is just so lovely and kind and sweet and stunningly gorgeous. But they just like you could tell they were
Yeah.
there, they were confident, they knew what they had
Yep.
to do. And even walking through the venue in their uniforms, in their practice wear, like they seemed calm, cool, and collected. I cannot
Okay.
say the same for myself, both this weekend and when I was competing, because I was a nervous wreck before any competition.
Okay.
But I loved that. I loved that they just were there to do a job and they weren't worried about it.
I think that's the essence of confidence.
Hmm.
I think the essence of confidence isn't having to be so demonstrative or to be so expressive. Sometimes it's when you are just calm and easy peasy. That's real confidence.
Hmm. Yes, because nervousness comes from being unprepared, right?
Yeah.
And that team was prepared. And so that was really cool to witness. And it really brought me back to how, especially our 2010 team was
Hmm.
very similar to the overall just vibe of that group.
Hmm. Then Mama Bear, Maddie Gardner, lets them off to warm ups and walk us through. what you're going through personally in the minutes leading up to senior elite walking out into day one.
Now, let me just say, I am by no means a coach for this team. Their coaches are incredible, and they were like the reason that all this happened, right? I was
Sure.
this
Yeah.
alum who's a little crazy and loves cheerleading and loves this program. And
Yeah.
so they went off to warm up with their incredible staff and
Yeah, with their
with their
coaches.
actual coaches, not their fake coach me. Um, Even though by the end of the weekend, some of the girls were calling me Coach Maddie, and it made me very emo. Because that's just really sweet. But anyway, they went back to warm up. I was ready to watch the division. I knew that the arena was going to be packed, so I got in there early. I was sitting with our good friend Eric Little, um, watching cheerleading.
That's a separate podcast as well. That's like a separate episode. That really is. Shout out to Eric Little right now. That
Yes.
will be a separate that whether that interaction, side note, was 30 seconds or 30 minutes, you could make an entire docu-series out of your interaction with Eric Little.
Um, yes, you sure could. Look at him.
Can we give a shout out to Eric Little right now?
We love him.
Just
So,
like,
okay.
can we tell America who Eric Little is?
Yes.
Why is that significant? Not
How would
everyone
you
would know the
describe Eric
significance.
Little? Eric Little is choreographer extraordinaire. He
That's a good
probably
word. Yeah.
choreographed a lot of your favorite routines,
And dances.
especially the dances. Exactly. He
Yeah.
choreographed both of my Proud Mary dances that Tomas has
Yep.
pointed out in previous
Yep.
episodes of Cheer Analyst, one on a junior team, one on senior elite. Um,
Yep.
he, yes, like I said, I mean, many of your favorite routines, he likely had a hand in choreographing, and
Yep.
he helped Cheer Extreme on a number of occasions back when I was an athlete there. So we've
Yep.
stayed in touch.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
He's brilliant. For those who don't know
Mm-hmm.
Eric Little, he may be one of the most brilliant minds that the sport has ever seen, period.
Yes, I did ask him if he would choreograph a wedding dance for me in the VIP section before I got kicked out.
Because, all jokes aside, for those listening, he's done multiple.
I'm sure.
No, he has.
I'm sure. And he was like, yeah.
Of
So
course,
we'll see.
he's choreographed for everyone. NFL, the NBA. He's brilliant.
He is. Um, Here we are sitting in the VIP area. You'll see his lanyard is green, meaning he is a coach, I think. My lanyard is blue, meaning I am not a coach, nor am I an
Yeah.
athlete, nor am I a VIP. So I quickly got kicked out of that section.
So you were a civilian. You were
I
as
was
like a civilian as can be.
I was a civilian. Um, and I
Yeah.
shouldn't have been allowed to sit there. I was not a VIP. I just didn't know. Um, and Eric Little gave me false confidence. So it's not
He
cool.
does that.
Ended up though sitting in the front row anyway of the arena, right behind the crowd, the like fan section. They Someone had taken a seat out of the front row, and I went up there, and the kind lady who was kind of maneuvering fans in and out of the fan section said, "Oh my gosh, you're supposed to
Yeah.
have a seat here. Do you want it?" And I was like, "Would love it." So ended up sitting there and being able to watch every single team from that front row vantage point, which was incredible. Really lucked out there. Yes, so I hadn't seen a lot of those routines in person from the front because majors, I was behind the stage while they performed because I was
Mm-hmm.
announcing the competition.
Mm-hmm.
NCA, I was up in the arena, right? And then watched day two on my app, my streaming app. So
Mm-hmm.
it'd been it's like it I hadn't, and it's just different. It's a different energy, it's a different performance level when you're there in person in your front row and you're seeing these incredible
Yep.
athletes
Yep.
at
Yep.
Worlds too. There's just a certain
It sure is.
energy. So I mean, I was blown away. Truly. Obviously, I am a little biased in this situation toward my former team, but just taking in those incredible routines back to back to back because they just ran through the large senior division. There wasn't another division in
Yeah.
between. You saw orange, you saw senior elite,
Yeah.
and then you saw stars like it back
Like
to
it's
back.
drama.
It
It's
is.
so dramatic
And you're
the way
waiting
they do that.
you're waiting for the panel, the judging panel, to finish scoring each routine after. So it's like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know better than I do. It's a while. And from where I was sitting, you can see the backstage area where the teams run out. So I could see the
Yeah.
team that was on deck. And I was just so nervous for all of them. And I could see, like right before Senior League performed, I could see Kinley Pope just standing there. Let me just send as much good energy as I can into this
Yeah.
child,
Yeah.
into all of these children.
Yes. The emotional roller coaster that you, as an alum of a team like Senior Elite, goes through,
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's worse than when
I
you competed.
watching them come out, just like come out onto the floor, not even do their routine.
Yes.
Watching them come out onto the floor, I didn't realize how much I would miss that feeling
Yep.
until I saw it again and I was like, oh my gosh, I miss that rush of just every different feeling, right? Like you're nervous, you have
Yeah.
adrenaline, you're like, this is my moment, let's go. I have to
Yeah.
perform. I'm here. Like I have because how you walk out on the mat, I truly believe sets the tone for your entire performance. If you're coming out and you're like tugging on your uniform, you're like bouncing up and down and like wiping your hands on your skirt and you're nervous, totally different than if you walk out and you're like, I'm
Hello
here,
from the Queen herself,
I'm
America. Thank
here.
you from the Yes.
When you walk out like a World Cup shooting star, tone is set because they make an entrance.
Or when you set 5, 6, 7, 8 Panthers
Mm-hmm.
and the arena feels that people in the arena feel intimidated,
Mm-hmm.
like people are intimidated just from when you if you can do it like a Panthers can and set
Mm-hmm.
just in your set.
Yep, sets the tone. So yes, I missed still do miss that feeling. And I was talking to the
Yeah.
guy sitting beside me, and he's a former cheerleader, as most in the audience were, or current. And I was like, I would give anything to feel that again. And he was like, I know. We're so fortunate. But all of that to say, from the other side of things, being a spectator, I cannot imagine being a coach and going through that, or a parent and going through that. Like to have to watch your son or daughter come out for the biggest performance of their life and just have no control over any of it. Like you can't do anything at that point. That is wild to me. And that's kind of how I felt. I was like, I
It
just
is.
want everything to go right for all of these athletes, and I can't do anything about it except like hold my arms up in the air like I'm holding their son. I I had watched her routine so many times. I had watched Senior Elite practice the night before. I knew the spots that they spent extra time on. I knew what their coaches were
Yeah.
expecting of them in those particular moments. And the day one performance was solid. I mean, solid enough to put them in first place going into
It
finals.
sure was.
A little bobble and a stunt, and other than that, good routine.
Very, very good routine.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the best cheerleading I've ever seen from Senior Elite in the history of Cheer Extreme, for sure.
Yeah. What did you say? The performance was.
Senior Elite look very realized this season.
Mhm. I agree.
And for those who don't know what realization is an act of becoming fully aware of something as a fact, or this is it, the fulfillment or achievement of something desired or anticipated.
Love.
The fulfillment or achievement of something desired or anticipated. And that's what Senior Elite looked like. They looked very realized. They looked full
Right.
circle. It looked, especially for someone for people like you or myself who've watched Cheer Extreme evolve from being essentially a D2 gym from North Carolina that
Mm-hmm.
was not really on anyone's radar to taking down a Goliath in the early 2000s. Do you know what I mean? To winning worlds, to being on the map, to now be this season a large senior powerhouse. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
now they have been a powerhouse, but this
It was
was
different.
irrefutably the best. It was very different. They've never looked like this before in cheer extreme history.
But I'll tell you that when they stepped on the mat Saturday, it looked like they had been preparing all season for that very moment.
Mm-hmm. They looked like it and they executed that.
Right.
Then they get off the floor. You're a mess.
I'm a mess. Little did I know someone was like filming my reaction to their first stunt. Well, I guess it's certainly stunt. I still call it the first stunt because when I was on the team, we did two stunts, two like partner stunts,
Yes.
and then
Yep.
a pyramid. It was all separate. But now it's just like the one really long stunt and then the pyramid later.
Yeah.
Um, so their stunt
Yeah.
sequence. Cheer Updates was sitting in the row with me and filmed me just freaking out. And I look psycho, but I love it because that is truly just the feeling of watching these kids hit and knowing that this is what they came to do was to hit two routines
Mm-hmm.
was just like incredible. Like how do you portray that? I think subconsciously I was thinking like how do I tell them that what they're doing is amazing if one athlete even happens to just glance in this direction and see me, like I want them to know that we are with them and like we are powering them on and we want this to keep going. Like we got them. Like this is it.
You get the strength and power that comes out from when you were on senior elite and looking out and seeing a Kelly
Yeah.
in the crowd going crazy for you,
Right.
because to you that is a childhood hero who has done what you've who's gone through what you have gone through, now on the other side, who you know is with you, and someone that you revere
Mm-hmm.
cheering you on in the moment. It's an indescribable feeling. I know when I was on Wildcats, it was like that as well. When the Matt McGraths were at the front of the
Mm,
stage
yeah.
going crazy. Do you know
Right.
what I mean? And
Right.
it's like your childhood hero, and you can see it while you're performing. Like they want it so bad for you, and it's a really cool thing to see people that you were so inspired by going crazy for you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm sure you had that with Kelly
Absolutely
and
with a
the like OG senior elite
for
girls.
sure. Um, day two, I'm jumping ahead, but this is relevant, I swear.
No,
Day two, like you don't know how much they can see when they're on the stage. Granted, the crowd is closer in the
yeah,
arena than it is in the former Milk House, now the field
yeah,
house. It's closer, so like you assume they can see some, but the lights are up there and they're looking all around, whatever. And of course, typically like you make eye contact with the judges, like you want to be like like I'm looking at you, or at least I did. Like
yeah.
we're doing this together.
We're the
Um,
same. We're also the same person, you and
yeah,
I. I'm like, I want to look right at the judge in
that
their eye,
that
and
overall
I want to see
judge.
their pupils.
I'm looking at you.
Yeah, I want to see their
Yeah.
pupils.
Day two, I'm in the same seat for obvious reasons because I had to be for them to hit right in my head. I'm like
Yes.
sitting right there, and there's a girl on the team named Ruby, and she's adorable, and she's probably one of the younger members of the team. But she starts like right in front of where I was sitting. And I promise I didn't ask her, but like right before she started, I was like, you got this. Like I was very mom
Yeah.
voice, like in
Yeah.
it. And she looked at me and
Yeah.
she was just like, and that was just,
Yeah.
even if she was just looking out in the crowd and just like nodded her head, maybe at the right time,
Yeah.
it seemed like she saw me and it was like, okay, yes, I got this. Like, and that's essentially what I was trying to do the entire time.
And I love that. because it's as if the barrier between the team and the audience
The fourth
breaks
wall.
in a good way. The
Mhm.
fourth wall, yes, I was going to say that. I love, and for those of you listening and that are not as seasoned, that's a very diplomatic word for Maddie and I, who are not as seasoned at analyzing cheerleading. Breaking the fourth wall is actually the main objective. You want to be in real time
Mhm.
engaging the entire crowd from, and not just the people in front of you, the judges
Mhm.
obviously first and foremost, but you want to be evoking emotion in the nosebleeds of the arena
Right.
as well, and you want to them to be as engaged. Senior Elite's so good at
They
that.
are.
You were the queen. You were the queen. You literally, I literally felt, I'll never forget watching 2008 in person, and I felt like I was in that TikTok with you. I think I
You
was
were. You
spiritually.
were there.
Spiritually, I was. Oh my gosh, spiritually, I
It
was
is
there.
it's such a good point. And I think it's one of the things that you can't practice. You can't like explain. Your team just kind of has to have it. And m most, if not all, of the large senior teams have it, right? Like they know what they're doing at this point. Um, but it's like, right now my entire social media feed is filled with Taylor Swift concert videos. And
Yep,
when she like you're filming her and she makes eye contact with the camera and she just looks right at the
yeah,
camera and it makes it seem like in a crowd of 70,000 she's singing a private concert to you. Like
yep,
when you're watching that and it makes you feel a certain way, if you're that person who's filming it, it makes you feel a certain way. So yes, while the judges are looking at the difficulty and the execution of
yep.
each part of the routine, the way you make them feel about your routine and your performance is what sets teams apart. And what's hard, especially about this division, is that all the teams are really good at it.
They're looking past the score sheet, and it's about evoking that kind of emotion. Here's the key point right here in Kernersville at the gym,
Right.
expecting you to perform like you're in the arena on Tuesday in the middle of February at 8:30. You have homework due.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say that it's important for me to say this and for people to hear, like, it's not glamorous to get there. And whether you're on Senior Elite or Shooting Stars or Panthers or Orange,
It was mind blowing to be back more than 10 years later and to just be in awe of these athletes because you know what it took to get there. Speaking of, I was just looking through. So at some point in the weekend, I was added to the senior elite group me.
as you should
I
be.
adore. But the night before they competed, it was like 11 p.m. and I sent a message. And one of the things I said was perform through the back of the arena and into the parking lot. Don't
Yep.
stop at the mat. Don't stop at the judges. Like just go through all of them.
I saw this at MCA with Wildcats. This is supposed to be about Senior Elite. I'm sorry. And I'm like,
I, I want to
Wildcats.
talk about Wildcats.
But I saw Wildcats on like Wednesday before they competed at NCA,
Mm-hmm.
and they had had an athlete in their show off, I think, roll her ankle.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, they had to go again, but they went after everyone showed off, right? And it's like the gym's empty, and it looked like a day two finals
No.
performance. I was like, when they do that in the arena, it won't be by accident. It looks like they could just like literally take, if they could just do that in the arena. And Senior Elite was the same
Yeah.
way. You could tell that they were practicing like that. That wasn't by chance.
And we're still on day one, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, so then we're at, and then so then they get off the
They
floor.
get off the
They get off the
floor.
floor. You're a
We
mess.
wait
You're a mess.
forever for scores. It seemed like a very long time for us to get standing.
Like 5 years have gone by.
It was,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't actually know how long it was. It felt so long. Um,
Like Kenley Pope graduated college by the time it was over.
Fast forward 4 years, 5 years, four years,
Yeah.
four. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it took a while. And then when the standings came out, I was with, I was on my way to senior elites practice. They practiced again after prelims, as most teams do. Um, and I found out what place they were in. Little did I know, like during that time, Lady Luck's, their other one of their other commercial teams, had just won Worlds. So they had just won. Senior Elite came out in first place. Um, and another team, I think it was Coex, another commercial team, had made it to finals. So a lot was happening in like 10 minutes. A lot went down. Anyway, they're in first after day one. So it goes standings, senior elite, orange, shooting stars, Panthers.
No one performed the routine of a lifetime. Senior Elite was very good, but everyone had room for improvement
Everyone,
going into day two.
everyone. So we're
Everyone.
going back to practice, and I say we like I'm just on the team at this point. Um,
You are.
we go back to practice, and the judges take time to write comments on score sheets about what they like,
Right.
what could be improved, changes you can make. So you know going into day two what's expected of you. If a judge
Yep.
says spacing is off in the stunt, you're going to spend an hour fixing the spacing in your stunt so that the next
Yep.
day the spacing is perfect because that judge who made
Yep.
that comment is looking for that correction. They had two practices on Saturday. I want to say like 4 to 6 and then 8 to 10. That sounds right.
Okay.
So we ran through some of the first stuff. I I gave my input about the choreography in the back of the dance because, as some of you may know, I did tumble. I was just one of the first passes when I competed. I was a full across the front, usually round picking through full. And then I went to the back and I did the dance choreography and probably threw a basket. So I was like,
Like
we're
a pike arch,
exactly
America. I'm going to cut into a
grinding,
video right there
grinding.
of your full also reference. Also in your other, when you podcast last time, you were in the cheer analyst studio. You're like, cheer Twitter used to come off my janky or come after my
My
janky
janky
full.
full. The point is, I like honed in on this back choreography in the tumbling section because there may or may not have someone made a comment about it, whether that was a judge or another coach. I was like, no, I agree. Like we should clean this up. There's no reason why this should be anything less than perfect. And those athletes know exactly what to do. The thing about competing, Tomas, and you know, everyone who is an athlete knows this, you just go into this almost like, or at least I did, this out of body experience where you're going through the motions, but you're not actually thinking about what you're doing. You're just kind of in autopilot, right? So a lot of times you can be so precise and clean up choreography in so many sections and like make these impactful changes. But that doesn't matter if you get on out on the mat and your body goes into autopilot and just does whatever it wants to do. So the whole point of those practices is just repetition, repetition, so your body knows exactly what to do and how to execute it, which is doing sections over and over and over again perfectly
Yep.
until you couldn't do it wrong, even if you were having an out of body experience floating above the world's stage.
If
Um,
you're that autopilot better be perfect.
it is. Yeah, that's the point, right? So what's funny is that so when I was competing, our gym was like 45 minutes to an hour away from my house. So
Yep.
when Worlds practices began, we were driving an hour, 2 hours round trip every night because we practiced every night leading up to Worlds.
Yep.
And there was
Mm-hmm.
an exit on the way home that had a Krispy Kreme. And so nearly every night after practice, I would have 3 hot and now donuts and a milk. Like that's just what I ate every night, almost 3 hot nail donuts and milk. And so we're sitting at practice, and I'm like, I'm gonna DoorDash some Krispy Kreme donuts. So sure enough, I got on DoorDash and paid like way too much money for what it was, but it
Five
was
thousand
worth it
dollars.
to get
Yeah.
boxes of donuts delivered to their practice. because I was just like, this is what needs to happen. These girls need some donuts to win tomorrow. So the donuts
You
came,
heard it here first, America.
the donuts arrived, the girls in practice. They were all obviously emotional because it was their last practice together. And they donuts, they went off. I was talking to Darnell, who's
Hmm.
one of the main coaches of the team as well, beforehand. He asked me that morning to come and talk to the Flyers before they went back to warm ups. He was like, "Can you give a speech to the Flyers of the team?" And I was like, "Yeah, but what do I say? Like, what do I say? I don't know what to say." He's like, "You don't know what to say." So sweet.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were talking before, and I was like, "Okay, let's just say what we're worried about, and we'll say it out loud, and then we'll laugh at it, and it won't be real. Because if we hold it inside, like it's gonna eat at us. So like let's just say what we're worried about." And neither one of us said something that was a skill in the routine. We weren't worried. I don't think any of the athletes, any of the parents, any of the coaches were worried about not hitting. It was just understood that
Yeah.
they were going to go hit a routine. There was no doubt in my mind that they were going to have zero deductions. Like that just made sense. It's just something about that group that I was like, I'm confident they're going to be fine. What I was worried about was the mental game and just the pressure of it, but never about them hitting. They were prepared.
Okay. You get to give them a speech.
Yeah.
Then Coach Maddie sends them off. How are they going? Like
They were having
the
a
right before
blast.
warm ups, how are they?
They were
Of course they
dancing.
were.
Like they were listening to music. They were doing all of their little traditions and superstitions, but they were like, they each got in their groups, flyers, bases, back spots.
Walk us, not even America, walk all of us in the world listening. What do you do now?
I went and got a seat in the arena. So they competed in placement from day one. So in fourth, third, second, first. So senior elite would be last. So the first team went at 11:45, Panthers, and I sat in the same seat I sat in the day before because I am superstitious. I put my sunglasses back on my head like they were on day one because I'm superstitious. Um,
Yeah, obviously.
Even though they were falling off, like it didn't make sense for them to be there in any way, shape, or form other than just the fact that they were there the day before. So they had to be there for the second day. Um, and I just like right before they announced Panthers, I just prayed, like literally clasped my hands like this, put my hands on things, and I just prayed so hard for all the
Yeah.
athletes. I was like, no injuries, obviously, good routines,
Yep.
that all of them walk off the
Yep.
mat feeling good about what they did. Um, and that, you know, they're proud of themselves and that someone tells them that they're proud of them too, right? That a parent, a coach, a teammate says, like, you did a good job. Like, that's just what I'm praying for these kids who are about to come out there because at the end of the day, they're 14 through 18-year-olds, you know? So even though they're the best athletes in the nation, in the world, like, they're still kids. And I was just like, I just want them to
We're
know
proud of you.
we're proud of you and what you're doing is so incredibly impressive and not everyone can do it. And in fact, like a very,
No,
very, 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 very small fraction of a percentage of the people who are in your sport can do this. So like let's just reflect on that for a second. Um and I just said to the guy sitting next to me, the same guy as the day before, obviously, I said like I want every single team to hit because that's how this division deserves to go down right now.
yep,
Let's hit,
yes.
no deductions, everyone is perfect, and let's see what happens.
And not just hit. I want routines of a lifetime.
Yeah,
I want everyone to hit.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's for every minute, one eternity had gone by
Mm-hmm,
for you.
mm-hmm. And I'm unwell at this point.
And here we are.
And I looked to the sweet
How, like, walk us
I
through?
looked to the sweet athletes to the right of me who were from a team from England, and they said, "Oh, who you want to win?" And I was like, "Senior Elite." They're like, "Oh yeah, we love them." My accent's terrible, and I was like, "Yeah, I used to cheer on the team, so I'm a little biased. I want every team to do well, but I want Senior Elite to win." And they were like, "Are you Maddie?"
Are you
I was like,
Maddie?
"I am." So sweet, so sweet. And I was like, "I'm really sorry. Um, I gotta focus. I'm gonna talk to you in 2.5 minutes. Um, I'm sorry for the person I'm about to be next to you. You speak
Hey, I
English."
just want to let you know, I'm going into, I'm about to have an
Mhm.
experience emotionally.
So Kinley Pope comes out on the floor for her last performance. And on day one, I filmed her coming out. So I filmed it again for superstition reasons. Um, but
Obviously.
I'm a wreck. And I'm just thinking, like, how does her coach, who, oh, by the way, is her mother, feeling? How are they feeling? How is Courtney feeling? Because if I'm feeling like this, I cannot imagine the team comes with her. They're getting set. I look at Ruby in the front. You got this. Like, um, chill bumps. You can't see it. I'm in long sleeves, but
But I can feel it because I'm there.
um, they start, and I'm just like, whatever energy I have in my body, whatever I can do right now to like transfer that to them, like just take all of it. Just take
Yeah,
like whatever they need, just take it from me. Just suck it out.
yeah,
And put it on the floor. At the same time, I'm thinking, looking at the corrections we made the night before in practice and looking at the dancers in the back of the tumbling to make sure they're hitting sharper, looking at the standing tumbling to make sure their chests are up when they land, looking where their feet are on the mat, seeing how the kicks are synchronized in the front. Like part of my brain is doing that. The other part of my brain is just like having just this emotional, what I like to call minty bee, like breakdown on the side because I'm thinking like, this is the last time Kinley Pope is performing. It's the last time Maddie Gardner is performing. I have pictures of them in their first year extreme uniforms. I held Kinley Pope when she was days old. I babysat her when she was a 3 week old baby child at a cheer competition. Like, and now here she is, and she's in the same shoes that I was in 11 years ago. And I know what she's feeling. And I know the pressure that's on her. And I know how bad she wants this, not just for herself, but for her teammates and for her mom. And I know like exactly what's going through her head. So while I'm watching the technique and the execution of their routine and wanting them to like just take all my energy to make it happen, I'm also like sympathizing in a way for what they're thinking and what they're going through on the mat. And it was just the most special experience. It was just, it was one of those moments in life where you're like, I'm going to remember that feeling in 30 years. The same way I remembered winning for the first time, Worlds, the same way I remember competing at Worlds for the last time. Um, like those feelings, each so unique and different. Watching those athletes compete for the last time on that stage, do it as perfectly as they did, and just like hit and know, I knew, I was like, okay, they just won. They just won. That's another one of those feelings that you never forget. And I just feel so honored to have witnessed it, honestly. I know that sounds so incredibly cheesy, and to people who don't understand cheerleading, you might never understand that, but like there's just something so special about this sport and the way that those feelings and those emotions can lay dormant for 11 years and then just like hit you again. And um yeah, I don't know really what else there is to say about it. It was magical. They walked up before.
Kenley Pope has competed her. Kenley Pope is now, she's done. She's
She's
competed.
done. I'm so proud.
History has been, you just witnessed history. How are you feeling? They just hit
Yeah.
the routine of a lifetime.
So we knew it would be down to them and Panthers. Between these two teams, I think Senior Elite is going to win. I just felt very confident still that whole time. I was trying to like reassure coaches, like they're gonna win. They're gonna win. It's gonna be fine. They're gonna win. Um, and again, I think it was like 2 hours between when they competed and when awards were, maybe two and a half. And I just like that's all I can think about. Like
Mm-hmm.
now I'm starting to second
Mm-hmm.
guess everything. I texted you and I was like, Senior Elite, right? And I don't remember our conversation. And you're like, they were incredible or something. And I was like, but Panthers. And you're like, but Panthers. And I was like, but still Senior Elite, right? Like then all of my confidence just as time went on started to dwindle and until we were backstage for awards. They walk out, they get on the stage, I go to the side, obviously, and they're doing awards. They call out third and fourth, and then they
Mm-hmm.
stop and say, like, we're going to announce the world champion first, and then we're going to recognize second
Yep,
place.
because that's what they do
Yeah.
now.
Um,
Both start with the word cheer.
so right. So cheer extreme, senior elite, and cheer athletics, Panthers. The first word and really the first syllable of the second word, they're pretty like
Yeah,
they're vowel
yeah,
sounds.
yeah. Phonetically, we're very similar.
Um, but again, like I was just so confident at that point. When they got down to the top two, I was just like, it's gonna be senior elite. Like I'm gonna record Courtney and Ben and Kinley in this moment. I'm just gonna for their even though
Yeah,
looking back, like 70,000 people were recording them, but I was just like, I'm gonna, like this
yeah,
is such a moment. I want to see it again. Um,
yeah,
and so they said cheer, and everyone holds their breath, and then it's like X, and then it's just like
yeah.
athletes that everyone's just like the streamers go off, and I'm just a mess. Like I'm just an ugly crying mess because watching a dream realized is something
Realized.
that is so special. It's the reason I cry when I watch the Olympics, when I see a football team win the Super Bowl, like watching all of that hard work just flash before their eyes and being able to be like, I did it. That'll will always make me emotional.
And it's the narrative too. It's there's so many storylines that are going on individually as athletes, the Maddie Dortons
Mhm.
and the McKennas and the Kenley Popes that we watched this little nugget grow up and win worlds. We watched Senior Elite not win for 10 years. There were so many storylines that all were realized and came full circle in one moment. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Mhm.
It was multi-layered. There's just a lot to unpack in Senior Elite winning that happened
Right.
there. A lot of history was made for different reasons.
You hit the nail on the head.
The mother-daughter duo, who eventually, I'll put this on the record, we know are going to coach Senior Elite together one day. Do you know what I mean? They will. They'll coach Senior Elite together one day and win together, and I'll get to cover that as cheer analyst, and you'll make really good
There you go.
content. I hope that inspires people that are listening that you can realize any dream into reality.
Mhm.
And I think that Courtney and Senior Elite and Cheer Extreme are such good examples that a dream can be realized into reality if you want it bad enough and if you work really hard and you believe in it.
Yeah. Yep. Now, I think it's important.
It's
It is,
inspiring.
and I think it's important to say the universe wanted this to work out. This is how it was supposed
Yeah.
to go. At the
Yep.
same time, that can't take away from what the athletes accomplished, right? Because they still had to go out there and hit a perfect routine and perform their hearts out and be there for each other and work their tails off throughout the entire season. Just because this is how it was supposed to go doesn't mean that's how it had to go. And they made it happen.
Is there anything that you would want to tell the team?
No, I think it all boils down to really what I said to the Flyers before they competed, and that was, you know what it takes, go take it. Like, just go do it and go take it. And I told them, it's, I haven't been back in 11 years to watch in person, but this team made me feel it the entire season, so much so that I had to be there. Like, I had to be there in person. And it's not because they're talented, it's not because they won a couple of competitions, important competitions this season. It's because of the love that they had for each other and the friendship. And I promise, like, that is what sets this team apart from the last 10 years. They want to keep in
Mhm.
touch. And it's the same reason why one of the girls who I won Worlds with in 2010 is going to be in my wedding. Like, it's that. It's like that's what you take away with you. So yes, you did it. You won Worlds. You got the ring. You got the globe. You got the banner. You got to change your Instagram bio to 2023 World Champion. But you also forged this bond that is so
Mhm.
different than just being on a team. Actually, Courtney said it best on Monday. She said, the teams that I have won Worlds with are cemented together forever, and they stay together and they move through life together and they stay in touch and they come back. The teams who don't win are more likely to just move on and live the rest of their lives. And it's because you're connected at that point to these women, to these, you know, teammates. And that's what you take with you. So maybe they heard that from me and they were like, okay, old woman, whatever. We just want to win. But I know that that's going to hit them if it didn't already. That's what it's all about.
And they have such amazing. You think winning worlds is cool, and it does tie you together, but there's so many beautiful life experiences ahead for Senior Elite and for Panthers, for all of the kids that even participated at Worlds. But back to Senior Elite, there's what they have ahead of them.
Yeah.
I can't wait for it to unfold for
And
them.
I'm so excited for them to just feel the pride that I felt this weekend for the girls who are coming up after them. For the girls who are on the mini and youth teams now that in 10 years will be competing on Senior Elite. And you're like, I'm just so proud of you. Like, I'm just so beyond words thrilled that you're in this position right now, and taking it in and taking the moment.
Senior Elite, what you did at Worlds was truly inspiring, and I don't know if they can even process the gravity of that, if how inspiring what they did
Right.
was. The kids on Senior Elite, they need to hear generations will look at that team and they've set a new standard for
Right.
Senior Elite. That is way, 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 way more than winning worlds. They have set a new standard for senior elite teams for the rest of time.
They now know it's not just what happens, but what has to happen in order to pull off
Yep.
the most difficult feat in the regular season of cheerleading, which is to win worlds. Like that's what it takes. And
Yeah.
other teams who are looking for that, like I can tell you that's what it takes. It takes the friendships and the bonds on the team to the point where you don't just care if your stunt hits, but you care if every single stunt hits, if every single base has a good routine, if every single back spot walks off the floor proud. Like that is what it takes for you to know the other parts of the routine and want them to go so well, not for selfish reasons, not because you know if they hit you win, but because you want it for that person. Um,
Yes.
Thank you, really, to Senior Elite, to Courtney Smith Pope, to Darnell, to Ben, to Brandon, to Gabe, to and every single Casey, Derek, like every single person on the coaching staff. Um, Thank you for letting me be such a very, very, very small part of your season and to witness it in person because that was incredible.
I don't ever, I need to record an outro. Okay, see you soon.